There may well be a time in the future where the Australian public misses the constructive input of the crossbench in this last parliament, because that constructive crossbench can actually hold government to account. And I do congratulate the crossbenchers who were elected into this parliament, because they will continue to have a very important role going forward. We put up a great fight here. But we wanted to retain the seat, and I have to say that none of us could have worked any harder than we did, either through the 7 months since the by-election or during the election campaign. We worked so hard to make sure that we provided the people of Wentworth with the best possible choice. I'm proud of the work that my team and I were able to do in this relatively brief time. During the by-election campaign, I said I would work with refugee advocates and the community to get kids off Nauru and find a more humane solution for those on Manus and Nauru who are in desperate need of proper medical care. Pressure from the Kids Off Nauru campaign forced the government to act, and we shall all be proud that there are no longer children on Nauru. Yes. I'm also immensely proud of the Home Affairs Legislation Amendment Miscellaneous Measures Bill, which came to be known as the Medivac Bill. Since that bill was passed, our public hospitals have not been overrun, and none of the other dire predictions about the consequences of compassionate treatment for sick refugees have come to pass. What we do have is appropriate medical care for people under Australia's watch. My hope is that Scott Morrison's newly elected government will continue to ensure that the remaining refugees and people seeking asylum on Manus Island and Nauru receive the attention they deserve, promptly and without unnecessary legal delays, and that a proper solution is found for these people so that they can live in freedom and safety. The other part of my campaign platform was real action on climate change and protection of our environment. And I would like the Morrison government to act with urgency to address the many environmental challenges facing our country, particularly the need for definitive policies to guide the transition to a clean energy future. That is so important. Our children are speaking out now about their future, about what they need for their children and their grandchildren, because this is a multi-generational challenge. And unless we take action now, we will miss the action that we need to take to ensure a clean energy future, to ensure an energy where climate change is limited. And I'm just hoping that this next government is going to pay attention to that. We also need a solution to the growing problem of waste, in particular plastic waste. This is a global challenge, but much like climate change, Australia should play a leading role on the world stage. The future of the ABC is under threat, and this is an issue that has come up through the by-election campaign and again in this campaign. It's now more important than ever that we have a properly funded, independent broadcaster. A National Integrity and Anti-Corruption Commission should be a major focus of the next parliament, and a failure to enact one will reflect poorly on the parliament, with public confidence in politics at an all-time low. I think that over time we will see that the sensible centre will be an important part of politics going forward, either within the parliament or outside of parliament. And I would encourage every Australian to do whatever you can to speak up about the issues that matter to you, to speak to your MP, to speak in public forums, to join community groups, to make sure that you have a voice. And it's so important. And I think perhaps one thing that this last 7 months has shown is that one voice can make a difference. I may have only been in Parliament for a short time, but I am proud of my record. I am proud of the team that I've had around me. I'm proud of my family for the support that they have given me. And because there's no way that I could have done anything that I've done in Parliament or for the electorate without their undying support. I operated in Canberra with conviction, with integrity, and a belief that individuals can impact on the political conversation. I delivered on my promises, and I wish Dave Sharma very well in his new role. And thank you all. Now, I'm happy to take questions.
What lost it for you, do you think, this election?
Well, I think it's really up to the political analysts to decide that, but clearly the country decided that it wanted to return a Liberal government, and I suspect that had something to do with it. I don't think that people wanted the taxes that Labor was planning or proposing. Look, the really telling thing is that this election in Wentworth went right down to the wire. It was, I was slightly ahead on polling day on Saturday, and then over the weekend as the postal votes came through, I slipped behind, and it's now clear that I'm not going to be in a winning position once the postal votes are concluded. But what that means is that things are very finely balanced. We want people who want socially progressive government, but they also want economic conservatism. And at the moment, we're only seeing the economic conservatism, which won slightly in Wentworth over this election campaign. But there is still very much a cry for socially progressive policies. There are people in this electorate and broadly in Australia who want to see action on climate change. There are people who want to see the environment protected. There are people who want to see politics done differently, where we do have an integrity and anti-corruption commission that can interrogate some of the actions of government that we've seen that have been questionable over recent months. We also need to see an independent broadcaster for the ABC. We want to see a balance. We want to see a balance of public and private health care, but a public health system that supports people who choose to use it or who cannot afford to use public health system. We need to see public education supported, TAFE education, universities properly funded, medical research properly funded. So there are so many issues that people are speaking up about, but they just made a line ball decision over the weekend that here in Wentworth they slightly preferred to go down that conservative path.
But Rebecca Sharkey was returned, Indi got a fair independent back, so why not here in Wentworth when you...
Well, I think I've explained that. I think this has been a Liberal seat or a Conservative seat since Federation, and it was, I said at the time, almost a miracle that I was elected as an independent, and there were a whole lot of issues at hand at that particular time, not the least of which Malcolm Turnbull being removed as a Prime Minister, and he was a very popular local member, and so there was that issue at play. But I think the fact that I almost held that entire swing of 19.2% indicates that there is still an appetite for independent thinking and action here in Wentworth.
Kerryn Phelps there, conceding defeat. She was the independent for Wentworth for just 8 months, winning it in the by-election last year, sounding like she thought her agenda was still on the winning side, but she is now conceding defeat to the Liberals' Dave Sharma.